Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. It's time to book a Varsity Media Sportscast and get on the big stage. A Varsity Media Sportscast is seen by thousands of people, both live and on demand, from friends and family all over the world to prospective college coaches. Our announcers will help tell the story of your team and your athletes. There is no bigger stage to be on than Varsity Media. Book a sportscast today by contacting Varsity Media.
And we are live here in Bethpage, New York, gearing up for a Nassau County lacrosse showdown between the Bethpage Golden Eagles and the North Shore Vikings. As North Shore comes in, winners of 2 in a row, Bethpage just snapping a 3-game skid. So glad you could join us here on the Varsity Sports Media Network, as we should be in store for quite the battle. He's Mike Nelson. I'm Lance Meadow. And, Mike, this is an interesting matchup because Bethpage brings the experience, but North Shore is a bit inexperienced with 13 underclassmen on their roster.
Yeah, it seems like, good to see you back here at our home field. It seems
Absolutely.
Feels like Lance, right? So, North Shore is having a little bit of I would say, a rebuild. I guess Coach Savage is looking at the future and bringing up a bunch of guys from JV through whether through attrition or injury. But these guys are going to get valuable experience. And Bethpage is up and down, as you said.
Yeah, they have had a tough schedule. That would explain why they have fluctuated in terms of their wins and their losses. So let's take you through this North Shore team, which, as we mentioned, is infusing, as Mike mentioned, a lot of freshmen and sophomores into the mix. There's 13 underclassmen to be exact. And as Mike mentioned, they just called up 3 players from JV, which says an awful lot about the mixing and matching that John Savage is going through right now.
Sure, and actually one of the JV players will be inserted right into the starting lineup, which probably is not ideal, but you know what? Down the road, it's going to serve him well.
And that, of course, is Ronan Morales, one of their starting defensemen, number 52. He will be somebody to certainly keep close tabs on. Tyler Yu is another player they brought up, as well as Mason Sylvia. So let's now take a look at the North Shore impact players. And these are the 2 players that we're highlighting. First is Angelo Anabile on offense. He has been a consistent force. And then Lorenzo Racine, their senior defender.
Well, let's start with Lorenzo Racine. As the goaltender, as a senior, I'm sure he's comfortable having at least one senior defender in front of him to, kind of, backstop that group. And Angelo Anabile, I had the good fortune of seeing him play quite a bit this summer. He's a quick lefty attackman with very high lacrosse IQ.
As Anabile leads the way with 32 goals and 43 points. On Bethpage side of the equation, they're known for their experience, as we've been highlighting. And Mike and I saw this team several weeks ago when they went up against Rosalind here at home, and they are still leaning on the likes of Andrew Reinhardt, who has just been putting on, it seems, an offensive clinic, and Luke Waxer so steady on the opposite side of the field.
I hate to repeat myself from the beginning of the year, but it's really good to see Andrew Reinhardt kind of stay healthy and stay on the field and really show what he's capable of doing. And Luke Waxer is just, he's Mr. Everything. He's all over the place. He'll kill penalties. He'll clear the ball. He's taken a few shots on offense. He's got 3 goals as we see there. So they're going to lean a lot on these guys.
A true coach's son based on his production and his consistency.
Sure.
As we look at the North Shore starting lineup. The Vikings, we talked about the youth movement, so this is going to be a very interesting team to watch. Annabelle, Clancy, and Torino are their three attackers, but all relatively young players. And also, as you mentioned, everybody playing in front of Griffin Pinter also is not necessarily a polished upperclassman at this point.
Correct. So it's funny to say that Angelo Annabelle is the old man of the group, and he's only a junior. But, he'll quarterback that offense, and they're going to have to lean on the older guys today.
Specifically, Racine and Godfrey, who are two seniors on the defensive side of the ball. And that brings us to their goaltender, Griffin Pinter, who is heading to Tennessee from an academic perspective, but all conference last season, so he does bring some continuity in front of the cage.
Yeah, that's got to make Coach Savage very happy. He's a lefty. We're going to have the battle of the lefty goalies today. Both guys are very athletic, very active. Griffin Pinter is going to have to, kind of carry this team on his back.
And he is going to have to slow down a Bethpage offensive attack that is trying to get its offense back on the same page, but has been explosive. They put up 9 goals in their win over Hewlett on Monday. It was a 9-4 victory, and it's not just, Mike, about Reinhardt. He's got a lot of talent around him, specifically Chase Soliday, who's been outstanding in the midfield.
Spreading the ball around and sharing the wealth, that's got to make the Coach Gorman very happy.
So a balanced attack, as they have had multiple players with double-digit points on the season. And then, of course, in goal is Joey Traversa, the Oak Award winner for their team because of his consistency. And we saw him earlier this season, but it seems as if he's getting more and more comfortable.
Yeah, he kind of struggled a little bit in the beginning, but now he's definitely feeling himself and coming into himself.
So it's Bethpage and North Shore here in Bethpage, New York. We'll step aside on the Varsity Sports Media Network.
Varsity Media is now opening up our schedule to any team looking to be on a sportscast. Watching yourself on camera is okay, but hearing your name on a Varsity Media sportscast is like you're a pro.
And look at this opportunity. Feldman behind. Jersey pulled. Feldman! Feldman!
The loose ball, Keyshawn White has it. He's just going to let it fly. Oh! Keyshawn White from half court. That is cash! What a way to end the third quarter!
As West barks out the signals. West is going to keep it himself inside the 5 to the goal line. Touchdown! Touchdown, Southside!
Varsity Media offers sports coverage for any sport, and our coverage airs live and on demand so everyone can watch the game. Now is the time to be a star on Varsity Media. Contact us to book a sportscast today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media. Varsity Media is now opening up our schedule to any team looking to be on a sportscast. Watching yourself on camera is okay, but hearing your name on a Varsity Media sportscast is like you're a pro.
And look at this opportunity. Feldman behind. Jersey pulled. Feldman! Feldman!
The loose ball, Keyshawn White has it. He's just going to let it fly. Oh! Keyshawn White from half court. That is cash! What a way to end the third quarter!
As West barks out the signals. West is He's going to keep it himself inside the 5 to the goal line. Touchdown! Touchdown, Southside.
Varsity Media offers sports coverage for any sport, and our coverage airs live and on demand so everyone can watch the game. Now is the time to be a star on Varsity Media. Contact us to book a SPORTSCAST today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
And the home of the brave. Thank you, and please be seated.
Well, that may be a first in terms of any sporting event that I have been a part of, Mike, as the technological singing of the national anthem did not function. So it was a group effort in terms of the fans, the PA announcer, and everybody else in the vicinity.
That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to witness. The organic national anthem.
There you go.
Right?
Off the cusp. What's not off the cusp is the conversations we had with the coaches prior to the game as we walk you through the keys to the contest. And, Mike, let's start with North Shore first.
North Shore's priority would be, first of all, to clear the ball efficiently. They don't want the ball down their end, as much as possible. Play great team defense in front of Griffin Pinter and share the rock on offense. And I'm thinking they want to kind of use the clock up as much as possible, the shot clock.
And then on the flip side, let's take you through Bethpage.
They're going to need Leo Cataldo to win their face-offs and gain possession, eliminate North Shore's third, fourth, fifth option, which means they're going to be aggressive on defense. And they got to go show a lot of patience against the zone. If North Shore throws a zone at them, and I saw a good zone team yesterday, the key to that is to have patience and kind of take what the other team gives you.
One of the things that Pat Gorman has brought up is his team understanding that the clock can be your friend or it could be your enemy, and that's why he was trying to emphasize this week, if they do see a zone, and North Shore tends to mix things up, that there's a little bit more aggressiveness and patience in walking that fine line between both.
It is a balance that you have to kind of find, especially with the clock, being instituted this year. A lot of guys that would be patient to hold on to the ball for 2 and 3 minutes, they just can't.
And that has been a process, clearly, for Bethpage this season. They have had to lean on their defense in recent games. Mike, you were at the Garden City game. It was a 6-1 final. It was a 1-0 score at the break, and many people did not anticipate it was going to be.
That was totally unexpected. First thing in that game, Joey Traversa played really, really well. He kind of carried Bethpage. But Bethpage played a really smart game against a very good, well-coached Garden City team.
So it'll be Leo Cataldo and Tommy Kaufman.
So which is the real Bethpage team that's going to show up today? That's the question, right?
And that's going to be the million-dollar question, is Bethpage does win the opening face-off, and Cataldo has been so steady this season. He has won 64% of those battles. Chase Soliday, number 9, is certainly a player to watch. He's heading to LIU, all-conference, a year ago. Here's James LaPetri giving it up to Charlie Abramo.
Bethpage will try to get everybody a touch early.
And that's exactly what they're doing. They're spreading the wealth here around the perimeter. Reinhardt, number 2, playing catch here with Abramo. It's a loose ball, as Reinhardt could not handle it, and coming back the other way, here is North Shore with their first possession.
Andrew Reinhardt has to kind of spread himself out a little bit and not be so close to the defender.
James Clancy, one of the 3 attackers, just gave up the ball as they're looking to reset. Angelo Annabelle, committed to Salisbury University in Maryland. He has scored at least 4 goals in each of the last 6 games. He's going to be a big focal point for the Bethpage defense. And Kaufman, who's their main faceoff guy, also contributes on offense, number 9.
That's a good fit for young Mr. Annabelle. He's going to do well at Salisbury, and right away he takes the best defender from Bethpage on him right away, in Ryan Tessler.
So each team has had a possession, and each team has not been able to capitalize. As Bethpage coming in at 4-6 through its first 10 games. North Shore at 6-3. They've played 9. We'll get a shot on goal here.
North Shore right away on a ride, went to a 10-man ride, which means the goalie has to come out. The open man on that would be in one of the 4 corners on offense, and they were able to find a deep attackman. The goalie, that's kind of far for him to cover. Very good look by the defender.
So on the last possession, we saw them move it around the perimeter as LaPetri is going to leave it for Abramo.
So it's great to get everybody touches, but you can't leave your feet flat. You know, they got to get their feet involved as well.
23 seconds on the shot clock. Garassi out of the X. Here's Soliday, loses footing. LaPetri fires, and it's sealed off inside by Pinter.
Coach Savage would be happy to just give up outside shots to Bethpage with Pinter in the cage.
So Pinter trying to set the tone early here for a young Vikings team. As North Shore now on the attack.
Flag
and a
down.
flag comes in. Multiple flags actually come in.
Bethpage penalty against number 42. 1 minute for unnecessary roughness.
So unnecessary roughness. It'll be a minute against Bethpage.
Coach Savage arguing that that was possibly a hit to the head, but they'll just serve. Bethpage will serve 1 minute.
That was Anthony Rapacki, who is the lone 8th grader on the team. So a man advantage here for North Shore, looking to break open a scoreless affair.
We saw Rapacki play the first time we were here as an 8th grader, and he doesn't seem like an 8th grader, doesn't play like an 8th grader, doesn't act like an 8th grader. He plays like an older kid.
Kaufman lost the ground ball. It's still loose. It's a hot potato, essentially, as North Shore trying to retain possession, and Mike Bethpage comes out of it.
Yep. I think there's an expression, you can't play lacrosse in a phone booth, and most young people probably don't know what a phone booth is, but that means that they can't be right on top of each other. They have to spread out Bethpage's defense.
Well, if you threw in rotary phone, you'd really lose them as well. We go a little old school with our references here.
I used that expression a couple years ago, not too long ago, and I just got blank stares, and then I realized that maybe it was time for me to move on.
It's amazing. I think actually in Manhattan they recently removed the very last payphone in New York City.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Right?
I think we all had a moment of silence within the 5 boroughs as North Shore here.
We're not going to need our quarters anymore.
Trying to redeem itself. And this will go back the other way.
It's obvious, I think, that North Shore is going to look to get Angelo Annabelle involved in that time. They try to get him the ball, but young Mr. Tesla was all over his hands. 10-man ride again for North Shore. They're trying to find out attackman one more time.
And it looked like Garassi had it initially, and then a flag came in.
30-second hold.
So a hold against North Shore.
So they had to remove the goalie because the penalty foul was on the goalie. So it's a 30-second foul against Griffin Pinter. So they're going to go with Luke Parakis. Here you see in the 10-man ride, Mr. Pinter has to come out and cover the far side attackman. There was a scramble for a loose ball, and Griffin Pinter was called for a hold.
Yeah, Pinter came out to defend Garassi. So now Bethpage has the man up.
In goal for North Shore, number 30, Luke Parakis. He's the 10th grade.
He's their backup goalie. 88% save percentage. 14 saves, 2 goals allowed this season. As we see Pinter will be a spectator for the time being.
I like the aggressiveness by Griffin Pinter in that ride. Unfortunately, it led to him being in the box, so he's going to have to avoid that later on.
Bethpage trying to solve the riddle here. As they get it to Reinhardt, and he is able to find the top shelf of the cage for the first goal of the game. And for Reinhardt, lucky number 30.
Here we see on the replay, Bethpage working the ball around, and unfortunately it was one less slide guy to come out to Reinhardt. Reinhardt had his hands free, was able to catch the shot and release it with nobody on him, and a nice shot right in the corner.
So Reinhardt picking up where he left off. 6 goals in their last game, 1 already today, and Bethpage moves in front of North Shore in the early stages of quarter number 1. So here's Kaufman and Cataldo again. And North Shore had it, and Bethpage off the bounce is with Garassi in possession. So they wisely get it to Reinhardt here in the X position as personnel shuffles in and out. Bethpage looking to make it back-to-back goals.
I like Bethpage's patience here. I think I've seen them in the past where they just kind of took the ball and dodged right off the bat. It's better for them to just get everybody involved and make the defense work.
Around the horn it goes. Soliday fires, and that is deflected by Pinter.
Pinter's back in the cage. I wouldn't expect him to take any more fouls after that first one.
I think he may have learned his lesson, how valuable he is to this team.
Coach Savage wasn't happy.
You don't want to lose your starting goaltender for a penalty. As they get it out to Soliday again. Reinhardt trying to get it into the crease, and good defensive presence there by North Shore. That's John Peck, the long stickman, getting his hand and stick in the way of that attack.
I think every time Annabelle gets the ball today, Tesla is going to be in his pocket. He's not going to give him any room to work with.
Well, there's such a big disparity, Mike, in terms of what Annabelle has scored on the season versus the rest of the attack.
Yeah, well, he's got the target on his back today, so Bethpage is definitely going to have to focus on him today.
I mean, he has 32 goals. Torino, the next starting attackman, with 12, just to give you a perspective on what this team has been posting this season.
He's a good player. Angelo is a very good player.
So Kaufman gives it up to Semino. As Curran had it up top and now gets it back.
So they have Annabelle, since he's being so closely guarded, they have him in the crease right now. Hopefully, they're trying to draw a slide, trying to draw his guy away from him to free him up a little bit.
That's going to be a shot clock violation, as there was 5 seconds ago. I'm not even sure if anyone on North Shore realized it. So off the turnover, Bethpage immediately turning up the field.
It's a nice ground ball and a nice right up the sideline.
Reinhardt takes over. Already has a goal in this game. Under 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Bramo to Reinhardt and intercepted by Pinter as they were trying to get it to Garassi in the X position.
Great anticipation by Griffin Pinter on that one. Again, Bethpage the next open guy on offense has to work a little harder to get open and get away from the defense.
Robert Gilman, sophomore midfielder with 1 goal on the season.
There were so many young players on the field today.
An immense amount, Mike.
Really.
It's really a true youth movement for this North Shore team undergoing transition. But, hey, they've won 6 of their first 9 games.
Sure.
For a team that doesn't have a wealth of experience.
And, minus Pinter and Annabelle, the future looks bright for them.
As they get it to the X. In the crease, and a slam dunk score for North Shore. A flag, though, comes in right after the score. It's going to be Julian Torino with the goal as we take another look.
Yep. He's able to get wide open on the crease, and then it was a push from behind and probably a foul. They're going to call a foul, and let's see if it stands here. I think the push into the crease, I think that's going to get eliminated and wiped off. So nice catch and release on right on the cage, right in front of Traversa. Not much Joey could do about that.
For Torino, his 13th goal of the season. And that goal will stand as Torino took a hit from behind as he was positioned to score right around Traversa. So back to a face-off scenario we go here with Kaufman and Cataldo.
It's a procedure call against Cataldo, and Bethpage will be North Shore's ball.
So North Shore now has an opportunity for back-to-back goals and untying the knot here with under 3.5 minutes to go in quarter number 1. And the reason why Torino can hang around that crease is he is big and strong.
Yeah.
And you saw that. That's why they utilize him in that position.
He was able to work his way around Louis Schneider on that one. Schneider was even close to him, but just the size of his body was tough to work against. Nice look by Traversa.
A great outlet.
Yeah, if I was a goalie, I'd be looking for Luke Waxer myself. I mean, that's your safety net right there on the clear.
Waxer with the long stick. And Pinter again making his presence felt.
Waxer took a pretty good shot after he released that.
It looks like Waxer
attempt
is still down as his teammates are going to come over to take a look, as well as the training staff. So we'll step aside. North Shore and Bethpage tied at 1 with under 3 minutes to go in the first quarter here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships.
So back here in Bethpage, New York, as Luke Waxer was able to get up under his own power and jog off the field. So that is great news for Bethpage. So here's another look, and just got shoved, it seemed, maybe from the side, Mike.
Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit of the Malachi crunch on that shot attempt. And they made him pay, but it was still a good play by Luke Waxer.
So Bethpage trying to move back in front after they scored the first goal with Reinhardt.
Another ancient reference by me. I'm going to call it with the...
I love the old school stuff. Please continue to bring it on, just to entertain me, maybe more so than anybody else viewing. I love old school.
Okay.
Reinhardt heading to Western Connecticut. Here's Garassi out of the X. 18 on the shot clock. You don't want to leave Reinhardt open as Pinter is able to get the stick in front to prevent his second goal.
That's not going to work on Griffin. He got a really good look at that, right in front. There was nobody screening him. So we've got to be a little more selective on the shots. Speaking of Reinhardt, West Con is doing a really good job of recruiting on the island. They got a lot of good players coming up there in the next few years.
So with a timeout on the field, let's take a look at some of our upcoming broadcasts as we head into the month of May. You'll see games over the early stages of this month with St. Anthony's hosting Darien. Massapequa will welcome Farmingdale to town. Then we're going to have Garden City and Manhasset on the girls' side, as well as the boys' side. It'll be a doubleheader coming your way. So keep close tabs on that matchup. Then as we move into the second week of May, Farmingdale and Port Washington on May 9th at 6 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of action across Long Island here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. Game tied at 1 here in Bethpage, New York, as we have had a grinded-out affair. But Reinhardt scoring the lone goal, their top scorer for the Golden Eagles. And North Shore able to respond with a strong presence from their attacker inside as they use their size to their advantage in striking with Julian Torino, who is right outside the front of the cage.
I think that paying so much attention to Annabelle right now, it's going to open things up for everybody else. And Torino with his size was able to take advantage.
Now, one of the keys we talked about, Mike, was Pat Gorman, the head coach of Bethpage, emphasizing to his team to finally walk that fine line between being aggressive and patient. What have you thought about their offensive possessions thus far?
I agree what we've been talking about the whole time. I think that you can't get too aggressive. You can't be too passive. Right now it seems to be working for them.
And right now, they're going to have to lean on their defense to slow down North Shore. With Tommy Curran in possession, the sophomore, with 4 goals and 3 assists this season. He loses control of the ball, and Bethpage quickly back the other way.
You can kind of see what happens when Annabelle is not allowed to quarterback the offense, or, carry the ball and be the main ball carrier. They get a little flustered.
So Bethpage will retain possession as Rapaki was hit from behind as he tried to get a shot off. And that was the other thing that Pat Gorman talked about, Mike, that you brought up. They don't want the 3rd, 4th, and 5th attackers to go wild in a game like this. And so far, they have kept those weapons in check.
Correct.
Reinhardt. Here's Soliday looking for an opening, and again, Pinter perfectly positioned to scoop it up.
So North Shore is in a bit of a hybrid zone. They're allowing outside shots, and with the goalie of Pinter's ability, that's going to be their advantage. Bethpage has to, still stay a little more aggressive, a little more patient, and kind of, carry the ball, throw it backward, try to find the seams in the zone.
And that zone has been troubling for this Bethpage team this season. Not here, as Anthony Garassi finding the back of the cage to give Bethpage a 2-1 advantage.
See here, the ball went back to possession went from North Shore back to Bethpage. Bethpage able to capitalize, run the ball down the pipe to the side of the field, and Garassi with a nice low to high shot right in the corner on Pinter.
So the quick change of possession caught North Shore off guard. Bethpage taking advantage, and in a blink, it's Bethpage back in front, and another face-off coming up as Kaufman and Cataldo will once again do battle. Cataldo heading to Siena, all conference last season.
It's a young Mr. Kaufman, 9th grader, doing a very good job against Leo Cataldo, who's a seasoned face-off guy. Leo's been around for a while.
John Savage called Tyler Kaufman a born leader and a Swiss Army knife, and we're seeing what he can offer this team thus far.
He's another coach's son. His dad had a huge part of bringing the youth program in North Shore. Good people.
So the Waxers and the Kaufmans, you're saying, know how to develop and grow the family genes as Bethpage back here in possession, looking to pad its lead.
Absolutely. You need those guys in your community.
And a flag comes in just at the end of the first quarter.
They're counting men, so it seems to be possibly a too many men penalty. But they all ran to the huddle and tried to hide themselves. Let's see what they come up with.
So we'll hold it here for the time being as they work out what occurred right at the tail end of the quarter, with Bethpage leading North Shore 2-1. And on second guess, we'll step aside as they work it out here on the field on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network.
Pole goal, yes! A man down pole goal as well. Busking, the skip somehow found its way through. BTB and a save! At the buzzer, we had
the Long Island Lacrosse Showcase is the premier opportunity for the high school players from Long Island to be recognized for their lacrosse skills. For over a decade, this event has been widely recognized as the premier event for exposure before college coaches of all levels. Players showcase their abilities while competing to earn a spot to represent their county in the Long Island Showcase Nassau versus Suffolk Games. Hosted in collaboration with the high school lacrosse coaches of Nassau and Suffolk counties, the Long Island Lacrosse Showcase had over 90 college coaches attend various rounds of the showcase. Make sure to register today.
Two-man game. Nice save up high.
"30-second penalty against North Shore as Bethpage to start the second quarter will have a man advantage. And I believe it went against Robert Gilman, the penalty against North Shore.
It was a procedure at the end of the quarter. I believe it was too many men.
Here's LaPetri to Soliday. And that one skips wide of the cage by Reinhardt. So it'll stay with the Golden Eagles. LaPetri rips it, and again, right in perfect position is Pinter.
You know, it's still a 10, 12-yard, step down from outside the hash. That should be nothing, no trouble for Pinter. I'm sure he would love to see those shots all day.
And a turnover for North Shore back to Bethpage, so Pinter's going to have to stay ready yet again. Rapacki gives it up to Garassi, and Pinter again is there.
Great save.
He's been a machine in the early stages of this game.
And that was a difficult shot, low to high, going right for the corner. Pinter was able to adjust.
Well, John Savage says Pinter can easily play on the college level. As another turnover gives an advantage here to Bethpage. And that shot wide by Reinhardt. So Bethpage will retain possession, as that's the second time Reinhardt from the right side tried to bounce it through. He's got such a quick release.
Yeah, he does. He's got great hand, great vision. I'd like to see him try to maybe get a little closer and improve his angle a little bit.
Soliday and Garassi playing catch.
Good look.
Soliday off the mark with that one.
That's just not going to work. I think Bethpage has to continue to try to, gain some ground on its North Shore zone.
So 33 on the shot clock. They have had opportunities. They have not been able to score, though. Soliday, a good look, and a bouncer deflected by Pinter. The man is on a mission this evening, and he's not going to be denied.
Defensive philosophy for North Shore is working perfectly. They're forcing Bethpage to do everything outside, and Pinter's up to it.
There's a reason why John Savage says Pinter is dialed in to the defense and the schematics. We're seeing why.
For sure. I mean, sometimes the zone can be a goalie's best friend, and he's definitely taking advantage of it.
Reinhardt drawing the attention.
The 7th save for Pinter.
So Pinter now is up to 7 saves with a new shot clock here for Bethpage. Reinhardt, again, just can't find the back of the cage.
Pinter's fired up. He's basically challenging Bethpage to shoot now. Interesting enough, Lance, some teams put both of their short sticks on a zone inside or top middle and top and inside too, but they have their short sticks up top, and they're more or less, taking taking a look at Garassi and Reinhardt on the sides, on the pipes.
And then, of course, they have to deal with Pinter, as that one, of course, hit the post, but still, Pinter has presented a brick wall all of a sudden for this Bethpage offense. So North Shore's defensive tenacity, can it turn into a goal? It won't. A takeaway here by Bethpage as Waxer all over that one.
So far, the Achilles heel for North Shore has been their clear.
Garassi boxed out.
Their defense is playing so well that they can't afford to give up, any uneven, unsettled situations due to, the clear failing. So they're going to have to dial that in and button that up a little bit.
Because when you think about how much time we've spent on this side of the field, Mike, it's amazing.
Sure. And North Shore is comfortable. They're doing a great job keeping them outside, and Pinter's holding them in. But in the unsettled situation, when they're losing the ball on clears, that could come back to bite them in the rear end.
So this young team showing some flashes on defense. As Bethpage trying to find Reinhardt. And again, Pinter is able to put his stick up to say, it's not happening on my watch. As Alex Newman attempted that shot.
So you try to think ahead of what the conversation is going to be, between the teams during halftime. And I can almost assure you that, on the Bethpage in the huddle, they're going to be talking about shot selection for sure. And, they got to change their levels. They got to find better shots, improve their angles.
North Shore, meanwhile, would just love to have a shot on goal here at some point.
Traversa not really being tested yet.
He's sitting back and relaxing. And we'll see whether or not they can turn up the pressure. Clancy out of the X.
A well-rested goalie can either be a benefit to him or it could be a detriment. Not seeing shots, not being into the game, that could work against them. Let's see what happens.
You get laid back and so forth as the game continues to flow.
Sure.
Tessler did a nice job boxing out.
Angelo has a short stick right here. For a second, he had a short stick, and he tried to take advantage of it, but Tessler slid back up to him.
And Annabelle basically just rolled the ball the way of Traversa.
I would like to see Angelo, if he had that matchup against the short stick, pull the ball out and take the kid to the corner and try to run from there.
We approach 6 minutes to go in the first half, and it has been 2-1 for quite some time as Bethpage trying to pad its lead with Soliday, leaving it for Garassi, and Pinter again gets in the way.
What a save. Nice job. That was a better job by Bethpage to create a scoring opportunity, and Garassi came around the pipe, and Pinter just able to get his leg on the shot.
Griffin Pinter, the senior, is putting on a defensive clinic at the expense of Bethpage offensive attack.
That's when you know a goalie's in the zone, when they stick their leg out and the balls hit them. They're throwing everything they can at the ball.
As that one gets away from Abramo. So it's going to stay with Bethpage here. 32 on the shot clock.
North Shore still in their zone.
Bramo, one of the underclassmen, a sophomore, and Pinter gets right in the way of Garassi's shot. He has been unconscious in this game.
You see body language on some of the Bethpage shooters. A little dejected, but they're just going to have to, when you're a shooter, you have to keep shooting. They have to figure them out.
Well, because you figure good things eventually will happen, Mike,
Yeah.
right, as you put shots on
right.
the goalie.
They have to fall eventually, right?
5:03 remains in the first half. The Golden Eagles take their first timeout.
So Bethpage wants to wisely regroup here because of what Pinter has been able to do in goal. He is single-handedly flustering their offense. And this is why when we talked with John Savage said, this kid is a big reason why we're winning games this season because of what he can do with so much youth in front of him consistently.
Yep. I've seen him play for a few years, Griffin Pinter. I actually coached against him years back, and he's been impressive since he's been in ninth grade. It's good to see him continue to stick with it, and no matter how his team is doing, he's just focusing on his job and showing very well. He's going to Tennessee, I believe
he is.
Said.
Yep.
I have an ex-player of mine that played club ball at Tennessee. I think they should look into it. It's no joke with club ball.
And you never know who you could find.
Right.
Perhaps a gem.
Right.
Well, the club team is going to get quite the asset based on who is coming to Knoxville momentarily. As we look at the upcoming schedule for North Shore, they'll have Calhoun on May 7th, Island Trees on May 10th, and then coming up on the 14th, it will be Plainview and Old Bethpage. So something to keep close tabs on. This North Shore team, though, has impressed with a 6-3 mark. They're 3-2 on the road. They have double-digit goals in 5 of the last 7 games, but here they're leaning on their defense today.
It looks a little bit like some of the remaining schedule, just some winnable games. So, experience early in the year and getting better, getting the young guys more acclimated. Let's see if they finish off the year in a strong manner.
Because John Savage and company right now evaluating who's going to be the key components of this squad moving forward.
And he's a good coach. He knows the game. And so, I'm sure he definitely has a plan, if he's going to stick around in North Shore, which I hope he does, getting young guys involved and getting them some seasoning.
His second year as the head man, he served as Nassau Community College men's lacrosse head coach from 16 to 2023. Back-to-back national champs in 21 and 22. 3-time National Junior College Athletic Association Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. So bringing a lot of experience here to the high school level.
Let's see how, after the timeout, let's see how Bethpage handled the zone here. So instead of 2 guys on one side of the offense, they're trying to flood the side of the zone with 3 guys to play like a 3-on-2 and draw and dump. They have to keep their feet moving.
Bramo off the move, and he is going to be able to bounce it through Pinter for his first goal, padding the lead 3-1.
Patience pays off. So here on the replay, you see Bethpage starting to move their feet, and because they were able to move the ball and spin the ball around and share the ball, the shooter was able to find a seam in the zone and had a nice 5-yard opportunity against Pinter.
And that was a difficult attempt by Pinter, who went into full butterfly mode to try to spread out and stop it, but he has been so on point that Bramo and company, you could tell, quite relieved, Mike, that they got that hard-earned third goal.
I'm sure when Bramo caught the ball, kind of close proximity to the cage, and it was one-on-one with Pinter, he didn't really hesitate, which is benefit for him.
And also on that one, aimed low as opposed to a bit higher, which we've seen throughout the course of this game. So North Shore in possession off the faceoff, trailing 3-1 here as we approach 4 minutes to go in the first half. They have kept Annabelle, the top scorer with 43 points, highlighted by 32 goals in check thus far. The lone goal for the Vikings from Julian Torino, 9th grader. And that one bounces wide.
I'm sure Coach Savage would love to get Angelo Annabelle, a little more involved in the offense. Right now, with Tesler marking him, it's been tough. So maybe try some different things. Maybe run him at midfield. Maybe take him out of the box and try to get him away from Tesler a little bit.
And you also see the size disparity, Mike, between both of these teams.
We spoke about that earlier. That it's striking. I mean, there's a lot of seniors, a lot of 9th graders. There's everybody in between, but you don't realize the difference until you see the size.
Well, Garassi's a senior. He's been around the block a few times as he comes through with his second goal, and all of a sudden, this Bethpage offense starting to pick things up.
So it starts with a North Shore turnover on the offense, and it turns into an unsettled situation. North Shore not able to, get back settled in their zone, and Garassi took advantage of the unsettledness.
Quarterback for the football team, orchestrating traffic here on the lacrosse field, and now we're seeing, Mike, we talked about this earlier, the more shots you put on goal, it's bound to eventually bounce your way.
They tell you, if you're a shooter, you keep shooting. Don't stop shooting just because you're having a tough run. Keep shooting. Eventually, they have to fall.
Worst thing you could do is get timid in that department as Kaufman wins another faceoff against the experienced Cataldo.
So Tesla not allowing Annabelle to get the ball on that break. Now it's a one-on-one. Let's see what Angelo does with Tesla behind the cage. I think he's going to try to dodge him for the first time here.
Just trying to find an angle. As that shot skips wide from Anthony Semino. Semino, a sophomore who has scored in 8 of the last 9 games. John Savage describing him as tough and hard-nosed. Annabelle trying to adopt that philosophy. As that one rips through for North Shore to cut the deficit to 4-2.
Nice look by Angelo. So he was the initiator on this play. Hopefully we see the replay. Here's the replay. So Angelo was able to initiate on this one. He drew a little bit of attention from number 32, who was trying to slide early and left it man. Angelo found that guy open, and nice step down. Nice play start by Angelo, and nice finish.
So that is going to be Mason Sylvia with his first career goal. And that is quite a showing for the young man. He was just called up from JV, Mike, and all of a sudden makes a splash.
Yeah, and he's right in the thick of it. Good for him. Congratulations to him on his first goal.
He, Tyler Yu, and Ronan Morales are the 3 JV players in the mix. And John Savage says they're calling on everybody
He said,
within this team.
If I'm going to bring you up, let's see what you got, and so far to taking advantage.
He has absolutely answered the call. And now North Shore has an opportunity here late in the first half with under 2 minutes to go as they give it back to Sylvia. He's just got a knack for the game, Savage says. And you can tell his skill and quickness.
He's got to find a little bit of a knack for the cafeteria, too.
Little meat and potatoes.
A little bit, that'll come, come for different kids at different times. I'm sure they'll find a way to get him some carbs and lift some weights. But I'm really excited about his future coming down the pike.
Well, he's got to work up the appetite, Mike. You figure that goal, right? That should draw up the appetite a little bit.
Right. I wonder what the first goal post-game meal is going to be, Whatever he wants, right?
Hopefully it'll be whatever he wants, but hopefully it'll be carbohydrates little in the mix. Well, a little protein, too, they can mix in. I was going to say maybe a steak, perhaps, but, I don't know what's in the budget for North Shore.
It's the guy used to coach, we used to say, you're a double lunch kid to the smaller guys. Right away, you got to add a meal a day. And Coach Savage will probably be on the same plan with him.
maybe a few snacks in between the 3 meals. Semino boxed out. And Traversa, who has not seen much activity as of late, now all of a sudden have to be becoming alert.
So offensively, North Shore showing some confidence in the last minute of the first half, which they haven't really, has shown the first half, the beginning of the first half.
Yeah, the energy of this game has completely changed,
Sure.
Mike, to your point.
Sure. It's only a 2-goal game, right? Vikings are hanging in there, and they're doing it with young guys. So, things are definitely looking up. It's got to give them a ton of confidence.
51.3 seconds remaining in the first half.
So Bethpage taking a timeout, and if you're North Shore right now, John Savage is telling his squad, listen, our defense is keeping us in this game. If you guys can come through with a goal or two to close this gap, this game is very much within striking distance entering the second half.
Absolutely, and longer possessions give the defense a chance to rest too, so it benefits both sides.
Well, and that's why the last few minutes things have flipped towards the opposite side of the field, which has given some of those defensemen a breather or two. And that has been a significant development as we look at Bethpage talking over strategy here. Let's take a look at their upcoming schedule, as they'll have matchups against Seaford, Cold Spring Harbor on the horizon, May 9th, with Wantagh on May 16th. And this is a Bethpage team that I mentioned, Mike, earlier, played Garden City tough, trailed 1-0 at halftime, wound up losing that game 6-1. When I spoke to Patrick Gorman, he also brought up the Plainage game, and he said it was 9-5 heading into the fourth. They were up by 4 goals. They were outscored 6-0 in the final quarter of that game. So you see, they've been setting the tone. It's just a matter of finishing.
Inconsistency had been really their Achilles heel. But that happens with, again, they're a young team too. They have some senior leadership, but you look up and down their roster. They have 8th graders, they have 9th graders. I like to see it on both sides.
Yeah, they have 10 underclassmen, Bethpage.
Yeah.
So both teams have double digits in that category.
Years ago, it was unheard of. Now, with the advent of travel ball and club ball, and the disparity between ages has really gotten a lot smaller.
And the feeder systems too.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing the level of development. To your point,
both of these towns, from my PAL experience, have really good youth programs and good people. Matt Anstey and Bethpage and Tom Kaufman. Was in North Shore, and they did a really good job developing their kids.
I'm going to go old school on you, because I know you're going to like this. I think of basketball when freshmen couldn't play varsity.
Yeah.
And in college, right, they had to settle for just the freshman team. Pistol Pete Maravich, for example, did all that scoring in one less year of college ball. So hopefully our young audience can look him up. And learn a thing or two.
That's the way it used to be. And Lacrosse, Eamon McEnany couldn't play as a freshman at Cornell, but he still was a 3-year player of the year. I'm sure there's a lot more examples, but just because you're an 8th grader or a 9th grader now doesn't count you out.
Well, we're an equal opportunist establishment here, so we have to throw in other things outside of the lacrosse world to bring points to the forefront.
Absolutely.
So the final 10 seconds of the first half. Can North Shore make something happen here? As Pinter lets it fly, and they're not going to get an opportunity at the cage. So it'll be a 4-2 advantage for Bethpage over North Shore going into the half, and North Shore's got to be pleased with its defensive intensity to keep Bethpage in check and within striking distance here entering the second half.
I think that's been the story. The possession has been on Bethpage's side, but North Shore has been able to clamp them down.
So we will step aside. We've got a good one here in Bethpage, New York. A 2-goal differential on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream events. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Varsity Media is now opening up our schedule to any team looking to be on a sportscast. Watching yourself on camera is okay, but hearing your name on a Varsity Media sportscast is like you're a pro.
And look at this opportunity. Feldman behind. Jersey pulled. Feldman! Feldman!
The loose ball, Keyshawn White has it. He's just going to let it fly. Oh! Keyshawn White from half court. That is cash! What a way to end the third quarter.
Look at this. Merrill. No slide. No problem. Gary Merrill goes top corner.
Varsity Media offers sports coverage for any sport, and our coverage airs live and on demand so everyone can watch the game. Now is the time to be a star on Varsity Media. Contact us to book a sportscast today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Hey parents, Varsity Media is now offering ISO video of just your athlete. Why settle for the wide angle that shows every player on the field? With our ISO video, your athlete is front and center the entire game. This footage will help in creating highlight videos for college coaches to better pinpoint your athlete's play on the field. Watching our video will help your athlete improve progressively throughout the season and may lead to a college scholarship. Varsity Media is now booking ISO videos for the spring, but spots are limited. Contact us today for lacrosse, baseball, softball, and tennis by calling 516-403-2050 or emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media @Varsity Media. Are you a local business looking for new and creative ways to promote your company? Varsity Media offers affordable rates that can get your message across to a demographic of 18 to 54 years of age. Our follower base across social media is 75,000 strong, and our viewership numbers per game are in the thousands. Don't blow your advertising budget on old staples like TV and radio media. Reach out to Varsity Media to get the best bang for your buck.
Merrill, he's got room to go. Merrill towards the end zone. Lost his lid. Touchdown!
JJ Damo, face on, stay on athlete. Controlling the face-off. That's 3 in a row now.
High school sports fans, Varsity Media is the exclusive live stream partner of Nassau County Championships. To live stream fall, winter, and spring championship events, head to varsitymediapass.com to order. Now accessible on smart TVs. Varsity Media is your home for the Nassau County Championships.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net.
For all the latest Varsity Media updates, including our game schedules, be sure to follow us on social media at Varsity Media, the home for New York high school sports.
When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream event. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Back here in Bethpage, New York at the break, it is the Golden Eagles leading the Vikings of North Shore 4-2, as it has been a defensive mindset specifically for North Shore to set the tone in the first half. A young team that has been unproven in terms of experience, but they've done a really nice job with Pinter bringing a brick wall right behind them.
I think that was Coach Savage's game plan, to kind of don't allow Bethpage to get anything in close and force them to the outside and rely on your senior keeper to keep them in the game.
Lance Meadow, Mike Nelson with you here in Bethpage, New York. So glad you could join us on the Varsity Media Sports Network, as this is a battle here in Nassau County between both of these teams, and this is really a defining moment, I would say, for North Shore, because 3 players called up from the junior varsity squad, an opportunity for them to show John Savage, hey, if they can perform down the stretch, they could very well be in the game plan moving forward into 2026.
For sure. I don't think you're going to see them, really come into their own the end of this year, but everything that they're doing this year from this point on is going to pay off in the future.
The Long Island Metro Association, I know, Mike, that's something that is near and dear to your heart, that you've been a part of. So an opportunity for you to discuss the ins and outs of the Long Island Metro Lacrosse Foundation, and just for our audience to understand, the mission of the foundation is to spread the positive spirit of lacrosse and support the highest ethical standards for all participants through annual initiatives, including targeted grants, scholarship programs, lacrosse educational clinics, and events to raise awareness and resources in support of the game. And it has been obviously such a beneficial organization over the years.
It's been a pleasure for me and a privilege for me to be involved. Unfortunately, I'm coming to the end of my tenure as president. I've been there for president for 6 years, but I've been involved in the foundation for about 15. At the program, but they're in good shape. The programs that we're involved in that we have coming up, schoolgirls, the National Schoolgirl Team Long Island, we support them. Our Hall of Famers in the fall. We have a Men's and Women's Hall of Fame. Shootout for Soldiers coming up July 10th and July 9th and 10th this summer in Burn Park, and it'll be our 11th year. We've made $1.5 million for so far national veteran charities and other programs like the outreach program, and we provide scholarships and maintain the 9/11 Memorial of Farmingdale State. So we're, the foundation as a whole has done a lot to preserve the behind the scenes, preserve the game, and help grow the game, and something that we're very proud of.
And we see the laundry list of programs that you just ran through that organization supports. A great cause, as we are nearing the start of the third quarter here in Bethpage, New York, with the Golden Eagles leading 4-2. They come in with a 4-6 record, whereas North Shore is 6-3 this season. North Shore beat Hicksville at home on Saturday 11-5, and it was Bethpage that topped Hewlett on Monday 9-4. So this is a quick turnaround for the Golden Eagles. This is their second game in 3 days this week.
Yeah, this time of year, with the weather, turning, and the coaches are trying to get the schedule, condensed, and they had less time to prep in the beginning of the year. So this is like in baseball they would call it the dog days of summer. This is kind of what's happening in lacrosse this springtime.
And Cataldo and Kaufman doing battle. Bethpage in possession here to start the third quarter with James LePetri.
Rapacki's another young guy that I think him playing up on the varsity early has already helped him out a great deal. He doesn't play like an 8th grader or 9th grader.
Yeah, much like we were talking about John Savage evaluating his young team, Patrick Gorman said they were looking at all their JV players early in the season, and constantly Rapacki stood out. They got to the point where they had to call him up.
Right.
They had no option.
Yeah, it wouldn't serve him well to play with the JV kids if he's that far advanced.
Well, Garassi doesn't have to worry about playing JV. He's a proven varsity star. He's got himself a hat trick, and it's a 5-2 score.
So again, Bethpage finding that seam in the zone, not really getting him a lot of pressure on the shooting place on the side. Right-handed shooter, left-handed goalie, so the near pipe was wide open. Garassi does a nice job of tucking that ball right on the near pipe.
So Garassi now up to 15 goals on the season, as it is a 3-goal advantage for Bethpage. The quarterback of the football team knows how to throw touchdowns, and he knows how to solve the riddle between the pipes.
North Shore doing a great job scrapping on a face-off. That's something that we really haven't touched on. Is how well they're really competing for ground balls.
Especially when they have to go up against the likes of Cataldo.
Absolutely. Leo's a proven face-off guy. He's been around for a while. Really surprised and pleased to see North Shore doing so well.
And speaking of doing well, North Shore gets on the board again thanks to Anthony Semino, who has now scored in 9 of the last 10 games.
So the benefit of North Shore scrapping for the ground balls and being victorious on the face-off is creating situations where Semino can just dodge one guy and the defense not being set on Bethpage.
So we have seen a member of their JV team score, we've seen a freshman, and now we've seen a sophomore. Total youth movement.
Yeah.
And that's a big answer because they responded immediately after Bethpage went up 5-2.
You would think it would take the winds out of their sails, going into the second half, but it hasn't.
And now again, Kaufman back to work.
They're not going to go away.
And Kaufman fighting with Cataldo there, and finally Bethpage is able to pick up the ground ball with Waxer.
North Shore's been doing a good job of keeping the ball away from Waxer and forcing the ball to the other side. That time Waxer was able to come up with the ground ball.
So while Reinhardt's known for the hat tricks, it's Garassi stealing the show today with Soliday taking over as we approach 10 minutes to go here in the third quarter. They get it to Reinhardt.
I wonder with the amount of defense that North Shore has played, I wonder if fatigue's going to, enter into it eventually.
In terms of the disparity in time of possession.
Sure. It's tiring.
As that shot goes wide. Soliday was the one that released that, so we'll stay in possession here for Bethpage.
Pinter is, trying to get his guys where they're supposed to be a little sooner, showing a little bit of frustration, but I really think that they're getting kind of exhausted out there.
1 on the shot clock, and that is going to be a violation. So back to North Shore. So this time, Pinter's defense does respond.
Yeah, they did a good job, despite being tired.
Well, that's why this next possession is significant here for North Shore. Can their offense milk some clock and keep it in their own zone.
That clear was huge right there. They turned the ball over and allowed Bethpage to have an unsettled situation. That would have been potential backbreaker, but that was a great clear by Pinter. Good look. Now North Shore has possession.
Semino, who scored the last goal, gives it up to Curran. Curran is another sophomore. He just moved up to the first line. And another tough, hard-nosed leader, according to John Savage.
Youth movement continues.
As he draws the double and loses the ball in the process, but it is going to stay with North Shore.
Yeah, it was a loose ball push. Let's see if they try to get Annabelle a little more involved here. Right now, he's in the middle of the cage, middle of the crease, and Tesler is on him. It looks like he's shutting him off inside. I'd like to see him get involved a little bit more. I'm sure Coach Savage would too.
Yeah, Annabelle for North Shore, and then to your point, Waxer for Bethpage. Those are the two guys who we highlighted, but they have drawn a lot of attention thus far in this game.
Yeah, right now they're kind of canceling each other out.
Kaufman, who's battled all throughout the faceoffs in the X position here. And it's a loose ball picked up by Bethpage, and they're not wasting any time.
Waxer with the ground ball, creating that fast break opportunity.
And they're still fighting for the loose ball, and Bethpage comes out of the pile, at least initially. As Rapaki gives it up to Tesler. $18 on the shot clock for Bethpage. They work it around the perimeter yet again, and that one ricocheted out.
It took Bethpage a little while to get their offensive guys on the field, and that's something that you and I saw in the first game that we played. They were a little late getting their offensive set situated, and it was taking a lot of time off the shot clock, and it wasn't leaving them much. Same thing here.
Liam Farrell released the last shot. That one by Soliday.
Nice stop by
Pinter. Yeah. Well, Petrie's going to pick up the ground ball. So Bethpage again keeping it on this side of the field, which has been problematic for the North Shore defense in terms of just how much gas they have to utilize. They're trying to keep it a 2-goal game. Rossi out of the X. Well, Petrie thinking about the shot, and Reinhardt too high on that one.
You can tell a little bit of fatigue setting in because on defense they're not moving so much, so the defense is a little more packed in. They're also allowing shots from like 2 or 3 yards closer, and that on that particular play, they sent 2 guys behind, which was a little confusion.
There's 20 on the clock as Pinter gets in the way of that one. And as long as they have that man between the pipes, Mike, they are going to be absolutely within this contest.
So wherever Mason Sylvia goes out tonight for his first goal, I think somebody should invite Griffin Pinter along and get him double. Those 2 guys right there, they deserve a whole plate or whatever they want.
Yeah, Pinter should not be settling for an appetizer this evening.
No way.
He should get a full meal.
Absolutely.
And then some.
Here he is. He's walking to the sideline during a timeout. He's still still trying to motivate his teammates and keep them in.
So coming up, it's the 2025 Nassau County Playoffs. Varsity Media is your home for the Section 8 playoffs. You can go to varsitymediapass.com to order. As we have a battle here in Nassau County, here in Bethpage, New York, between the Golden Eagles and the North Shore Vikings. And North Shore down by 2 goals with Just over 5.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. This has been a young, scrappy team on full display. They may lack size, they may lack experience, Mike, but they do not lack heart based on what we've seen.
No, Coach Savage has to be thrilled with their effort. I mean, they're still hanging in there. They're still hanging around. Bethpage can't get rid of them. They're scrapping. They're going after ground balls. They're playing hard-nosed defense. Pinter is doing what Pinter does and becoming a brick wall back there.
Well, if we go back to the keys that we talked about for North Shore, one of the keys was play great defense. Check there. As far as clearing the ball efficiently and scoring the rock, mixed results in terms of that, but they still have been able to lean on the facet of defense in this game.
Sure. And that's going to be their hallmark going to the rest of the year, I believe.
And one of the things that John Savage has been emphasizing to his team is consistency and the behaviors and discipline needed to win. And it's understandable that happens with a young team because it's growing pains, Mike, essentially, when you're leaning on freshmen and sophomores.
For sure. But they really haven't played like an immature group. They've been playing like this season. And I think that's some of it to the influence of some of the upperclassmen on them, which is going to benefit them. But, he's got to be thrilled with the way they're showing up.
Well, Griffin Pinter, one of those upperclassmen, is certainly rubbing off on this group. As Bethpage with a takeaway. And Lewis Schneider able to pick it up. And Bethpage not wasting any time. They get it to Reinhardt, and Reinhardt delivers. You do not want to give that man space because he'll turn an inch into a mile, his second goal today.
Yeah, that Pate definitely caught a break there. Lucky, a fortunate bounce for them. You see on the replay, that the ball was cleared by the goaltender down the field. Loose ball opportunity. Pinter was forced to come out and try to play Reinhardt, and you're not going to stop him wide open from 5 yards away.
So Reinhardt with his 31st goal of the season. And I was wondering, Mike, based on the replay, was he thinking about perhaps throwing it across the crease? He did have a teammate towards the left of the post, but when he's one-on-one, you expect to give him the green light under those circumstances.
Yeah, I think that if you throw the ball away in that circumstance, that could be a backbreaker for them too. So he took the short shot.
And again, Bethpage in possession with Lewis Schneider. So Bethpage restores a 3-goal advantage with under 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. We've seen North Shore get within 2. They just can't break through beyond that. As Garassi gives it up. Reinhardt taking over. As he and Garassi have combined for 5 of the team's 6 goals.
It looks like North Shore has kind of come out of their zone a little bit, being down 3 goals and might have to force the issue and be a little more aggressive. But regardless of the defense, Pinter was still, destroy that one.
As Pinter did not allow clearance for Neal on the shot. Newman, excuse me.
And he cleared the ball all by himself on that one, too.
North Shore shuffling some new personnel in.
They have to get away from each other. The young guys have to learn that they don't have to hang out all the time. They have to find their own space.
Well, that's what Mason Sylvia is looking for, who's in possession, as he just came back onto the field.
So look at the confidence that young Mason has right now. Carrying the ball, going behind, drew a penalty. Good for him.
Trying to weave in and out of traffic here. As that low shot goes through for Tyler Kaufman, his 7th goal of the season.
And he got himself an assist to go along with his goal. His replay again. Here comes Sylvia initiating on a dodge from behind. Finds Kaufman with his hands open and free. And nice step down by Mr. Kaufman.
So how about Sylvia? Up from the JV team, he scores a goal. He facilitates another one. Yep. He pushes it back to a 2-goal deficit here.
A ninth grader to a ninth grader.
The future is bright
Absolutely.
for the Vikings.
Absolutely. They have a young goalie who's backing up Pinter, right? Who we saw for a minute before. He's got a great save percentage in his opportunities. So, they have some spots filled, and they'll just have to fill a couple more spots, and I think they're going to be competitive.
Now, Lewis Schneider picked up the penalty, so it's a minute on the clock here in favor of North Shore.
And the shot clock is roughly around the same amount of time. So being down by 2 goals, they can afford to, and still with a whole quarter left, they can afford to take their time and see what Bethpage is doing here and take what they give them.
Sylvia's been very active. As he and Kaufman again going to work. They hooked up on the last goal.
Move the ball around, draw.
11 on the clock.
Draw, move it, be a threat.
They got 3 to work with. They're going to have to get rid of it, and that's going to be a shot clock violation. So good defense by Bethpage.
North Shore did a good job of moving the ball around. Bethpage just didn't relent on that one.
As Rapaki lost the ball, it was Curran that knocked it loose.
North Shore's not going to go away, Lance. I'm convinced of it.
Well, this scrappy bunch still fighting as the ground ball picked up by Rapaki. They can get within a goal, North Shore, before the end of the third quarter. That could be huge. But right now, Bethpage with an opportunity. As here's Garassi, who has a hat trick.
Again, Bethpage taking a little bit of time, getting their guys, where they need to be. North Shore back in their zone.
Soliday leaves it for Garassi. They flip it over to LePetri. Garassi blocked again by Pinter. His 14th save of the day. And Pinter's going to come out here as the outlet pass leads to a wide shot just off the mark by James Clancy.
Pinter almost got himself an apple on that one. Great play. I think that Griffin Pinter is influencing Bethpage shots now. I think Bethpage had a couple opportunities to, step down and rip them from 10 yards out, and I think they passed up looking for better shots. I think that's the kind of day that he's been having.
It's the Pinter effect.
Yeah. Really impressed with North Shore at this point. Really, really impressed.
So Bethpage called for a penalty as a flag came in as we take another look here.
So Brian Calendra, the official, called a push from behind with possession. That's a 30-second foul, so North Shore will be up 30 seconds leading into the end of the third quarter.
That was against Tristan Maracondo, the sophomore, defenseman and long stickman. So North Shore here with 25 seconds and counting. Can they make it a one-goal game?
Coach Wax was talking to the young defenseman that just took the foul, saying, look, the young guy, love your aggressiveness, but you got to keep it under control.
They were trying to get it to Torino, and Garassi and Pinter got up close and personal. Pinter was not going to give him space to operate.
Oh, that was another great play by Griffin to be active and come out and be the 7th defenseman on that play.
So a young North Shore squad with 13 underclassmen within 2 goals of Bethpage with 1 quarter to go here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
You're watching Varsity Media, New York's high school sports network.
Parents, your support means everything to your athletes and to us at Varsity Media. To help us continue bringing you the best YouTube coverage of high school sports on Long Island, we invite business owners to consider a sponsorship on our broadcasts. If you own a business, consider a sponsorship for your athlete's team. It's a great way to show support, gain visibility, and keep the coverage going strong. Join us in making a difference. Contact Varsity Media today to learn more about broadcast sponsorship opportunities by emailing ben@varsitymedia.net. When it comes to live streaming, Varsity Media does it all. Athletic events, concerts, musicals, graduations, even weddings. Trust Varsity Media when it comes to your live stream event. Contact us today to learn more about Varsity Media's live streaming services at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
For the latest news in high school sports, be sure to check out varsitymedia.net or follow us on social media at Varsity Media.
Well, if you love a big game with a lot on the line, then you're going to want to tune into this one on May 15th at 4:45 p.m. Eastern, St. Anthony's and Chaminade. You can tune in at youtube.com/Varsity Media with a championship on the line. And it is presented by Catholic Health. As we get set for the fourth quarter here in Bethpage, New York, with the Golden Eagles leading the Vikings of North Shore 6-4.
Another really important face-off battle here. It's equally important is the lineup on the wings to help out their face-off guys.
Penalty time is expired. Teams are at even strength.
And the penalty expired, so the teams are back to even strength as Cataldo won that battle. And here's Soliday heading to LIU, all conference last season. He's one of the most athletic players on this roster. And we talk about the attention Reinhardt draws while Soliday is right behind him. And he is now in possession, and a flag comes in.
So they just called a stick foul on the defender covering Reinhardt. I think he got him in a sensitive place on a slap check. So let's see if that's what Mr. Wallace is calling.
Penalty.
Penalty on North Shore.
The penalty is against North Shore's number 16. 30 seconds
Oh.
offsides.
I was wrong. Offsides on North Shore.
So it's going to go against Caden Smith, 30-second penalty. So Bethpage with the man advantage, trying to hold on to a 2-goal lead and maybe even extend it. They spread the wealth here. And they want to get it to Reinhardt. As Reinhardt interrupted by, again, that North Shore defensive presence. .36 seconds on the clock. Trying to break through this zone again.
Penalty time is expired. Teams are at even
So the
strength.
penalty's over. They get it to Reinhardt. And again, Pinter putting up his shield at the expense of the Bethpage offense. And North Shore looking to cut into this deficit.
Reinhardt's frustration and not being able to solve Griffin Pinter is kind of showing a little bit. He did change levels on that shot, but Griffin Pinter stood tall and took the way to top of the cage.
Top scorer for Bethpage, who had 6 goals in the last game. Has 2 today, but he has had so many other opportunities that Pinter has denied. And speaking of top scorers, Annabelle, can he get on the board?
They got to find a way to get Angelo away from Tesler. Easier said than done because that's their number one goal, to take away Angelo's space and time and room. But they got to figure out a way to be creative and try to get him open.
Off the dodge. And a great job by Traversa to put his knee down for the stop.
Traversa hasn't been really tested all that much. It's good to see him still locked in.
Because you pointed this out earlier, Mike. You said you want him to remain engaged in the game even though he's not seeing a lot of shots, and he has been true to form.
Sure, it's not an easy thing to do. It would appear to be easy. Goalies have an easy day, but sometimes goalies like to get involved and like to get a handle on the ball and even have the ball hit him once in a while and kind of wake him up.
Yeah, he's had his zone all to himself for a good portion of this game. Soliday misfires.
Sure.
That one going wide. So back to North Shore.
North Shore defender was closer at the end line, so good job by North Shore standing up. Bethpage in a deep ride here. Trying to force North Shore into mistakes. He can't go offside here. Good job. No, they're not.
Pinter gets it to Curran. Mike Nelson doing coaching as he's commentating. He's a man of very many hats.
Old habits die hard, Lance. I'm sorry about that.
You're a true Renaissance man. You don't have to make excuses.
Yeah, but look, this is lacrosse. Every day is a great day to play lacrosse, to be around the field. Sometimes the coach comes out, sometimes the commentator comes out, sometimes the player comes out. But that's what this game is doing. It's a great game, and I'm glad to see the two teams going at it.
You take many different forms as North Shore with an opportunity to make it a one-goal game. And Waxer got his long stick in the way to knock the ball loose.
The young offensive guys of North Shore got themselves in a little bit of trouble there. I think it's not a panic, but a little anxiety, settled in. So they have to settle down and work the ball outside, keep continuing to keep their feet moving. And Bethpage comes back with a mistake of their own.
So one takeaway leads to another. And another opportunity here for North Shore as we approach the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter. They get it to Annabelle. Off the dodge.
Nice split dodge.
And it's broken up again by the Bethpage defense. Maracando right in the middle of that.
It's good to see Angelo, get aggressive when he got the ball and make a good move to the cage.
Dangerous outlet pass. Goes past Soliday, and Pinter takes it away.
Speaking of aggressiveness, there's Mr. Pinter.
It's almost as if the goalies are playing catch with one another here. Tommy Lagan, the senior finisher, will slow things down as Bethpage changes some personnel.
You see some guys with hands on hips here, hands on knees, trying to catch their breath. Definitely fatigue settling in. It's a little warm today. The sun's nice and warm. A lot of time down in the defensive zone for North Shore.
Soliday thinking about letting it rip, and a dangerous pass in the crease somehow gets through for a goal. Are you kidding me? Tommy Lagan swinging for the fences indeed, and it's 7-4 Bethpage. Wow.
So Bethpage able to find a seam on that zone. Then the far side, 3 defensemen throwing sticks toward the offensive player, not really moving their feet. I think fatigue is starting to settle in, and I think that's the reason why Bethpage was able to capitalize on that.
Well, I think he maybe set up for a birdie with that chip shot, would you say, right?
Yeah.
I like the celebration from Tommy Lagan.
Johnny on the spot, a great little celly at the end.
That was a magnificent pass into the crease for Lagan. So Lagan with his 12th goal of the season. And another example, North Shore looked like they were chipping away, Mike, and then all of a sudden Bethpage scores in the blink of an eye.
I hate to repeat myself and sound like a broken record, but I think that the amount of defense that they played is definitely, taking a toll on them.
Just the volume of possessions that Bethpage had and the takeaways by North Shore putting so much more on the shoulders of this defense.
And young guys at that.
But Petrie giving it up to Lagan, who scored on the last possession.
Behind the back fake.
26 seconds on the shot clock. Abramo to Garassi, and Pinter puts up the wall again. Griffin Pinter is doing everything in his power to help his team win, but a mishap there, and fortunately Reinhardt shot off the mark.
Reinhardt goes wide, North Shore ball.
As that outlet was intercepted.
A little sloppy play comes along with, tiredness and to be expected, but they have to, if they want to really climb back with 5 minutes left and down 3 goals, they have to find a way to stay away from that stuff.
Well, a rare mistake there for Pinter, who has been exceptional throughout the course of this game. Rapaki getting it to Lagan across the way, and Pinter again there to say Garassi's not going to get his 4th goal.
So for the save of the game, can we pick like 10 or 11 saves?
It should just be a montage of everything Pinter's done. Our technical producer, Becca, is going to have to be forced to put together an arts and crafts project. I don't know if we want to put her through that.
So our producer needs a new software, and we need a telestrator, too, for future broadcast, okay?
Well, Mike Nelson could be the czar of lacrosse, like Mike Fratello, the czar of basketball.
I'd be happy to do anything indoors at this point, Lance, so it's all good.
We're adding to your labels with 4 minutes approaching here in Bethpage, New York.
After years of being out, in tournaments and, freezing cold weather and it's just blazing sun, at that point I was kind of wished that I was got involved with bowling when I was younger and, air conditioning and the 365.
The comfort.
Yeah, French fries, everything that a bowling alley comes with. Not too late.
As Traversa prevents Semino from getting through, and a flag comes in. As both teams getting a much-needed breather here, specifically South Shore.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a couple of cramps happening here. It really is warm on the turf, and the sun's pretty hot, and these guys have been running and a lot of field time. Give them all a lot of credit.
Well, you can see towards the middle of our screen now, that's Semino with the coaching staff, and he was the one that was walking off gingerly from the field.
Right.
Penalty is against Bethpage's number 18, 1 minute for slashing.
So it's going to be a 1 minute slashing penalty. And it's going to go against Bethpage. It's going to go against Luke Waxer.
Is there a coach on the field?
Well, it looks like there is multiple members of the North Shore staff walking towards the far side, including John Savage.
So I'm going to take a guess here and say that parent or whoever that was on that far side was riding John Schroeder, the official, and Mr. Schroeder requested that members of the coaching staff go over and settle them down. They're not losing this game by 3 goals because of the officiating. That we know for a fact. I mean, they're doing their best to hang out in this game. So it's unfortunate the parents have to get involved in that and be proud of what the kids have done so far, and the game's not over yet.
And Mike, this is a veteran crew led by Ed Wallace, John Schroeder, and Brian Calendra.
Sure.
Working this match.
3 of the better guys, and they're doing a great job at this game so far. They're letting them play for the most part,
Loose ball push gives the ball back to
Another loose ball push. Here's Torino at the top. He scored an early goal. But ever since, Bethpage has kept North Shore in check. And again, Traversa. Money on the spot as Sylvia was prevented from getting his second goal.
Yeah, young Mason right in the mix of it again. Did a good job of getting himself open and catching him, releasing that shot, and great save by Traversa. Traversa's a little banged up at this point too.
Yeah, he's shaken up behind the cage. We're not seeing it on the screen because play is resuming, but he looks to be back in his normal spot. As Bethpage just trying to milk some clock here with just over 2 minutes to go.
If I may, Lance, get back to the officials. The game is really short of qualified officials now, and a big reason for that is that, the retention is not very good. Okay, guys don't really want to get yelled at anymore. So, it's important for everybody to kind of just let them play, let them call the game and enjoy the game as fans.
So here's North Shore with Sylvia. Leaving it for Kaufman with 1.5 minutes to go. Can they get a final push here? Sylvia determined. And that one bounces through. And finally, it's Angelo Annabelle making his presence felt with under 1 minute to go.
With an assist by young Mason Sylvia. So he's coming into his own and just in the span of one game. Okay, nice look inside. Angelo catch, nice release. Three-quarter release, low shot, changing levels. Very good job by both of them.
Bethpage taking a timeout, and even though Annabelle just scored to make it a 2-goal game, I think it says a lot about the Bethpage defense, Mike. This is a player that came in scoring at least 4 goals in each of the last 6 games. They hold him to 1 here this afternoon.
Yeah. North Shore offense is not as balanced as, say, a Bethpage offense would be, so a lot of attention's been drawn on Angelo Annabelle. But finally, he's able to, to get on the scoreboard, and he had to create his own opening on that one.
And you see Traversa on the right side of the screen. He's been bending over. He seems to be in some type of pain, but playing through it, the junior.
Yeah, I don't want to guess to what it could be. I'm thinking it's his hand. Could be a lot of goalies get a lot of hand injuries and stuff. I hope it's really not his. Hands is a million bones in the hands, and that could be injured. But he's hanging in there. They're not going to be able to get him out.
Patrick Gorman, the head coach of Bethpage, talking about that the game is slowing down for him. He's calmer with the ball in his stick since March, and they give him a lot of support. There's goalie training. There's warm-up strategies, Mike. I mean, it's not just a matter of throwing him out on an island. They've been doing a really good job developing and guiding him here.
And still only a junior. So, he's got a whole year in front of him. He's played, you see the progression as the year's gone on. He's played so much better as the years to where we are now, fighting, obviously, through an injury. I would be reluctant to say that they could pull him out. I don't think he's going to leave.
So Cataldo and Kaufman back to work. And Leo initially came out of the pile, and Rapaki picks it up. So here is Bethpage looking to milk more clock. As you can see, there's about a 10-second differential between the game clock and the shot clock.
So North Shore's going to have to send 2 defenders and bring Griffin Pinter out to cover somebody like there.
And a flag comes in.
I think we're going to see Luke Parakis go back into the cage for the final couple seconds if the whistle ever blows.
Well, Soliday trying to prevent that from happening.
It's frustration on Griffin Pinter's part. He'd been in the game all game, and really held them together and had a ton of saves. He had to come out and play, and frustration got the best of him.
Bethpage will be on the extra man for 30 seconds.
So 30 seconds, a man advantage for the Golden Eagles as Pinter is going to come off the field. And here's the replay, Mike, as we see Pinter just going for the tackle.
So they're on a defense where they have to double the ball. When you do that, then that leaves the goalie to cover somebody, and the offensive player's job is to run away from the goalie, and it gave Pinter a longer stretch to run to. By the time he got there, he was just in a bad mood, and arrived in a bad mood, they say, and he took a penalty.
So Bethpage just watching the clock tick away.
This has been a great game, Lance.
It has.
Yeah, it's not really what we expected, but it was a pleasure to watch these guys, and they'll be out at each other, for the next few years.
Well, despite people who love offense, I would argue defense is fun to consume as well.
Yeah.
And this game had a lot of it, as that is going to do it here in Bethpage, New York, with the Golden Eagles topping North Shore 7-5 to improve to 5-6 on the season. And they get back-to-back wins after suffering a 3-game skid. They beat Hewlett on Monday, and they come through here at home with a victory over North Shore, as Anthony Garassi recording the hat trick and Andrew Reinhardt adding 2 goals. So 5 goals from those 2 combined of their 7. And Griffin Pinter was solid from start to finish.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, it's time for the save of the game, brought to you by Breakout Goaltending Group, Long Island's longest-running goalie-exclusive training program, serving boys and girls elementary through college age all year round since 2004. Today's Breakout Save of the Game winner receives a certificate good for 1 complimentary lesson with Long Island's finest Breakout Goaltending Group. Visit them online at breakoutgoaltending.com. And here is the save, and there were a lot to choose from, Mike, based on what Pinter did.
Yeah, very difficult, but this is a nice one. It's a nice 10-yard step down by Soliday, and Pinter sent it in left leg and his stick and everything else he had right at it, and able to kick the ball out.
Everything at his disposal.
Sure.
He filled up the cage. A lot of highlights on his reel, but North Shore falls to Bethpage 7-5 here in Nassau County, as a young North Shore team gains valuable experience, but they fall to 6-4 on the season through their first 10 games, and even their record on the road at 3-3. As that is going to wrap things up for us here in Bethpage, New York. Mike, always a pleasure.
You too.
Enjoyed
You
it.
too, Lance. Thank you.
Our executive producer is Ben Turchin. We want to thank our entire staff and you, the viewers, for tuning in. For Mike Nelson, I'm Lance Benno saying so long from Bethpage, New York. The final score once again, Golden Eagles 7, North Shore 5. Have a good one here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.